welcome. Today we're going to do the side work. So this is a really fun, playful part of Shiatsu. I love it when my clients surrender themselves and allow me to dance with their body and move with their body. So we're going to pull your client up on their side. So the general rule is that whatever side they're going to be lying on, that arm needs to be above their head as much as possible. So his head is already turned that direction, so their head needs to be turned towards the way that they're going to be facing once they're on their side. And I actually want to bring his arm up as close to his ear as I possibly can. Obviously, if someone has a shoulder injury, you can't pull them up on their side. You might be able to pull them up on one side and not the other side, but always be mindful of your client's limitations. So, and then also, whenever you go to move the arm or the body, make sure that it's always supported. It feels good. So now this arm needs to be as close to the side. And I actually want the elbow bent because I'm going to pull up and I'm going to be on the medial side or the inside of the elbow with my palm up and get here. The other thing that you want to be always remember is where's your pillow? Because you pull them up on their side and then you forgot and you can't reach your pillow and you have to start all over again. So I always make sure my pillow is nearby. I'm going to come down and get the ankle of the leg that's furthest away from me. And it's really important. Again, these little details, they make all the difference in the world. So my hand is on the lateral side of his leg, right? I'm holding, there's actually a point right here. I usually press that point. And then I usually have my knee up because I catch him with my knee. A common mistake that people, when they do this, is that they're right next to their body when they pull up, and if you pull up, they've got no place to go. So you need to move back, and then I'm going to get my palm up like that. And I'm not going to pull on his arm. I'm holding his arm just as like a rudder, just to guide his torso. It's his pelvis that I want to move. If you can move someone's pelvis, you move their whole body. So I'm going to come in and just pull the leg. And I hold on like this so that they can feel supported. And then I'm going to come and get my hand on the medial side of the knee and my other hand holding the foot and pick the leg up and make sure that it feels supported. Once you know this move, there's a bunch of other things that you can add in, but we're just using this to place the leg on the pillow. So I'll ask my client, do you need a pillow for under your head? Okay, so always have one ready to offer. So now I'm sitting parallel to his back and my thigh is pressing against his back to support his back. This is important for a whole bunch of reasons. When we get into working on the chest, it's going to isolate the shoulder so that he doesn't go into a twist. We are going to do a twist later, but I'm using my body to block him and support him. So the first thing we're going to do, let me talk about this. Again, I'm comfortable in this position. If you have to have your legs straight out in front of you, you can do that. You could, though, take the pillow and put it between your heels and your ischials, and that takes a little bit of pressure off your knees. If it's your ankles that are the problem and not your knees, then you can take the pillow and get it under your ankles so that they're not pressed flat. So those are some variations, but do the best that you can. You've got to work with what you got. Okay, so I'm sitting parallel. This arm is going to come and be on the front, and his arm's just going to hang, and then my other arm is here. So the first thing I'm going to do is rotation. So it's going to come from my dantian. I'm holding him, and I'm going to lean back. See how his head came up? And then I'm going to pull his shoulder back, and I'm pushing my hip in so he doesn't twist. And then I just come around. I don't focus on bringing the shoulder to the ear because we tend to do this too much anyway. If you want to do that, but I usually don't. And then people don't need to come forward very much, so I don't focus on that. What I really focus on is leaning back, and then away, and around. So notice my arms are pretty much straight. not doing this with my upper body strength. I'm doing it with my center. So now we're here. This is a great opportunity to work on the side of the neck. So now I'm going to just continue to move. And I have a lot of choices I can do here. I can do, wait a minute, no, here we go. I'm going to do a stroke up the sternocleidomastoid. So this is a little tricky, so I'm going to get my thumb on the sternocleidomastoid, and then when I pull the shoulder down, my thumb slides. And then I go around, and then when I pull down, my thumb slides. And then I stop. So the pulling the shoulder down helps move the skin under the thumb. And I'm heading towards the mastoid process, which is a gallbladder point. So now I can come in here and press that and see how I give a nice stretch. And I can come in, so now I can use the heel of my hand, come in and scoop under the lateral occipital ridge and do a stretch that way. And then my hand usually falls into a stroke along the side. I could also do points, gallbladder 20, urinary bladder 10, or just pick a point to press on the lateral occipital ridge. It feels really good. So come in here. You could gnaw the neck. Okay. So this is a nice position to do some neck work and any other things that you want to throw in. Now we're going to clean the scapular wing. So again, it's going to vary so much. Some people you can't get underneath their scapula at all. Other people, it's usually easiest the closer you are to the inferior angle of the scapula, the easier it is. As you go up higher, a lot of times it's just too tight up in here and you can't get under. So there's always variation. I'm going to roll his shoulder forward a little bit, find the medial border of the scapula. So my palm is up. I'm using my fingertips. Sometimes I rest my elbow on my thigh, but what I do is I pull back, and my fingers are pretty well under there, so I can use the pads of my fingers here. I can use the pads to massage. If they're really flexible, sometimes I pull the scapula away from the thorax. So coming in and pulling back. So he's pretty open down here by the inferior angle, but I'm pretty sure as soon as trapezius gets involved, it's going to be a different story. Here we go. Yeah, so see, I'm not going under nearly as much, just a little bit. Some people, you just have to visualize. Some people's, their scapulas are so locked down you can't get under. You can also come in and do a little bit of detail work with your thumb. So coming in, hitting the levator. Yeah. So his shoulder's pretty nice and open, and I'm able to get in without much effort. Okay. So now with my hand all around the scapula, I'll be able to measure for small intestine 11. So my thumb just goes right into the center, okay? So now, this is the way that I like to do it. I'll show you other variations, but this is the way. So I'll come in, press small intestine 11, and notice my hand is resting on his shoulder. All I do is lift my hand up, and then I rotate the arm. So I'm actually holding him with my elbow. I like this way, it's most comfortable for me, but if you don't like it, then you could hold the elbow with your hand and press like that. And this is going to be tricky because his arms are longer than mine, but if you've got long arms and they don't have, you can hold at the wrist and press and make big rotations like that. So those are the variations, but I like the barrel a monkey fashion. So right now I would consider myself parallel to his body. I'm going to come up on my knees. I'm going to pivot 90 degrees. I'm going to place, it's my knee above his head. So see, my heel is here. So here's where we have some variation. If I have a very flexible person, I want my knee as low as possible so it can be close to their head. But his shoulder is really tight right now. So I'm going to come up a little bit higher. So now I'm up a little bit higher. See how my foot's on the floor now? And now it's funny. I like to get the iliac crest and do the stretch that way. But my surveys in class, most students prefer the hand on the greater trochanter and then do a stretch. So see how I'm lunging forward. I avoid pulling his skin by letting his palm rest on my knee and my hand is on top of his palm. And I come in like that. Okay. So this is for a nice stretch. If you are a smaller person and you've got a much longer person, you can do it this way. So now I'm going to come up. My foot's above the head. I'm going to place my foot at the ischial tuberosity. I like to rest my elbow on my thigh, and then I'm pushing with my foot and pulling with my arms. So you can do it standing up. Okay. So now, once you've done that stretch, keep the arm on your knee and let it just relax a little bit. I usually hold it with my elbow here. And now I can come in and do some really nice work in the axilla. I like to have my palm facing the same direction as the face, right? And so I'm using the side of my hand. I'm getting on the back of the scapula and then pushing it back. So really getting in there. If you know more axilla work, this is a great place to do it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fingers and my thenar eminence, and I'm just going to grasp the heart and small intestine meridians. Be sure to support the elbow and then pivot back to your original position, parallel to the back. And here's where I really want to support his back because I'm going to bring his arm back in extension to open up the chest. So this is, it's nice that you get to see this example. He's got a really tight chest. So I'm actually going to stop with his arm at my shoulder here and just let him relax a little bit and maybe work a little bit on this pec major that's super tight. If I had someone that didn't have such a tight shoulder, their arm would easily come and lay across my lap. But in this case, I'm going to coax a little bit, so we might be able to come down a little bit more. What's a really nice thing to do is I like to come in, let's see if I can get him a little bit lower. Yes. Okay. This is a little overstretch for him, but I wanted to be able to do the next move. So I hold at lung 1, and I'm going to keep this finger here, and now I'm just going to trace the lung meridian, especially on this tight shoulder. Oh, look, my elbow is right here. I can do a compression with my elbow too. I'm just going to trace the lung meridian all the way to the thumb. So if this was a regular Shiatsu session, he was my client, we could spend some nice time here focusing and opening up his chest. But now I'm going to move on. The next move is a bow stretch. This is another back extension. So again, be mindful if someone has low back problems, you want to be careful about back extensions. So what's really important, what I do is I put the wrist on the waist. See how his elbow is cocked back like this? So if he begins to roll forward, I can just hold on to his elbow, or I might just choose to hold his elbow. But if it's a real stable person, you may not need to hold this at all. So now, before I do anything else, I'm going to bring the ankle of the bent knee to be next to the knee that's straight. So I'm just going to bring that back. And this just is going to allow you to be able to reach the foot when you get down. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is now I'm going to sit down. And here's really important. Get your foot on the inferior sacrum. With my foot here, that's going to prevent a big anterior rotation with this pelvis, which would compress the low back. So it's really important to have your foot. So his sacrum is here, his coccyx is about right here. So I've got glute here, I've got glute here. I'm not on any bone. So now that I'm here, I'm going to come back and I can readjust myself, come in. So I'm really pushing here. So go in. How's that for you?
Good.
So this is average. If I had someone who was incredibly flexible, what I would do was the higher I scoot up, the more leverage I have to pull back. So see, if I pulled back, so watch what would happen. If I come up here and I pull back, see how I've got more room and I can use my body? But that's for someone who's really, really flexible. My foot is still in the same place. But let's go back to the body that we're working on. So now I can come in and I can do compressions with my other foot. One thing that can happen here is that if their iliotibial tract or the lateral side of their leg is tight and you get them in this position, it might be painful on their knee, which is a sign that they need to really lengthen the lateral side of their leg. But how you can alleviate that is you just push the knee up, get the knee higher than the foot, and then I can catch it like that, and that usually takes it away, as long as you can get there. Can we bring your knee up a little bit higher? There we go. So that usually takes away the pain from the knee. Okay, now I'm going to push his leg forward, and see how I use him to get up? And now, again, whenever you move the leg, you want your hand on the medial side of the knee, your hand on the foot, and then bring the leg in. Some presses here if you want to. So now we're going to do a twist. So I'm going to come in. I want to stabilize the pelvis so that he gets a nice twist. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to let your arm go down like that. And slowly guide you forward. So I'm not pushing, I'm just stabilizing here. And then, so he's not quite to the ground, so I'm not, so I'm gonna just stabilize him here, and then we would hang out and allow his body to slowly melt, and maybe possibly that shoulder would come all the way down. If you have someone that's very flexible and they just flop right over and their shoulder's on the ground, then you could throw in, you would still hold onto the shoulder, and then you could push the hip away. But that's for someone whose shoulder comes all the way to the floor. You can also, this is something that I like to do, and that is that I like to hold often with my knee at gallbladder 30 while I work on the shoulder to coax the shoulder down. So make sure to allow your clients to enjoy the stretch. It's not just getting them in the stretch and then getting out. You need to let them hang out, and hopefully their body softens and they can go further into the stretch. But now we're going to bring him up. So now we're going to get them on their second side. Okay? So this is the first way that I usually show people how to do that. So that is, I'm going to come in, and I'm going to just place my foot just on the other side of his leg, and then pick his leg up, put my hand on his knee, foot, and then let the leg rest on my leg, and then I'm holding him on the medial side of his leg. So I'm resting my elbow on my thigh. That allows me to pick up the pillow and get the pillow out of the way. And And then I want to hold his hand because I don't want him to roll over onto his hand. So I just hold it as a rudder. And then I remind my client, as I put you down, go ahead and move your arm in any position that's going to make you comfortable. But what I'm going to do with this leg is I want to bring the knees to the knees. So I just lower him down and see how his knees go right together like that. So just to remind you, I'm going to get him, pull him up on his second side. So I want my pillow within reach. He's going to be facing that way now. So I want this arm. And now, whatever side they're going to lie on, that arm needs to be above their head, as close to their head as possible, right? I know where my pillow is. I get the leg that's furthest away from me, flex the knee, make sure my hand's on the lateral side of the ankle, get the elbow, pull the hip. And there, you're ready for the second side. Thank you.